Dracarys.
HBO's Game of Thrones is filled with iconic moments and scenes that make for essentially perfect television. Game of Thrones infamously saw a downward trend in its final seasons, leading to one of the most controversial finales ever. Still, it's considered one of the best TV shows of all time, and the ending seasons shouldn't detract from the excellence of the earlier years and the well-crafted, exceptionally performed scenes. Though many of the show's best scenes were early on, there are still some genius moments in the latter half of the series. One of the rare amazing scenes in late Game of Thrones happens in The Spoils of War, as Jaime and the Lannister army are attacked by a herd of Dothraki, led by Daenerys and Drogon. The loot train attack is one of the most impressive action sequences in the show, but the most alluring aspect is the historical parallels to Aegon's conquest, showing the immense power of a dragon to wage war in Westeros. It's a riveting late-stage Game of Thrones sequence that isn't as bogged down by logical errors as others, like the battle beyond the wall. Between Battle of the Bastards and the Winds of Winter, there are several iconic moments, but Cersei destroying the Sept of Baelor with wildfire stands out. Ramin Djawadi deserves endless praise for his work on Game of Thrones, and the Season 6 finale stands out with some of his best musical scoring. The extended build-up toward the inevitable massacre is made perfect by the music, which adds to the tension and genuine shock when a significant portion of the show's cast is killed off in one fell swoop. As brutal and heartbreaking as the Red Wedding is, it's followed shortly by the far more gratifying wedding disaster. In concept, the idea of a child choking to death on poison sounds horrifying. Unless, of course, that child is Joffrey Baratheon, the most detestable person in Westeros and one of the most wretched TV villains ever. The purple wedding scene is perfect purely for audience gratification, as after 3 full seasons of watching Joffrey prance around being a menace, it's beautiful to see him perish in the process of him, once again being a menace.
Mother, the Lannisters send their regards.
One incredibly emotional Game of Thrones scene that'd be hard not to include is the Red Wedding. For many reasons, the penultimate episode of Season 3 is not only one of the best Game of Thrones episodes, but also one of the most prolific TV episodes ever made. The sheer shock value of the Red Wedding is harrowing alone. But the way the scene plays out is so perfectly orchestrated to build tension and then immediately release it with a flurry of quick, brutal deaths. One of the many great dragon scenes in Game of Thrones comes at the closing moment of Season 1. One of the many great dragon scenes in Game of Thrones comes at the closing moment of Season 1, when Daenerys first rises from the pyre to reveal the birth of Drogon, Rhaegal, and Viserion. While not as extravagant as later dragon battle scenes may be, the Season 1 ending provided confirmation that HBO was telling a genuinely spectacular story. While the prologue scene is vital for setting up the show, the birth of Daenerys Targaryen's dragons establishes Game of Thrones as a magical epic with a ton to look forward to.
And winter is coming.
Introducing television audiences to George R.R. Martin's fictional universe is a daunting task, and the pilot episode is overwhelming with characters, locations, plot threads, and history. There's a lot to learn, and one of the reasons many modern fantasy shows struggle is due to the complexity of the worlds they introduce. It's a hump for any fantasy series to get over, and the crucial piece of the premiere Game of Thrones episode that helps grip audiences is the prologue scene. The prologue is so perfect because it creates an immediate draw for the series, using horror elements to develop feelings of suspense, mystery, and intrigue. The characters aren't important and will all be dead sooner than later, but the spectacle of the wall, the weird pattern of dead body parts, and the concept of a supernatural threat are enough to hook audiences in long enough for them to endure the preceding world building. It can't be understated how essential the introduction sequence is in setting up the series. Another dragon scene that's far more subtle than most comes in Kill the Boy, when Jorah Mormont and Tyrion ferry through the ruins of old Valyria. Valyrian history is one of the more vague, mystical areas of George R.R. Martin's world, and the Season 5 scene perfectly plays off that magical ambiguity. Drogon, who'd gone rogue and left Meereen in Season 4, gently flies above the pair as they sail. On top of Tyrion seeing a dragon for the first time, the scene raises fascinating questions about dragon autonomy and why Drogon may have been naturally drawn to Valyria.
I wish I was the monster you think I am. I wish I had enough poison for the whole pack of you. I would gladly give my life to watch you all swallow.
The Laws of Gods and Men is one of the most incredible Game of Thrones episodes that isn't a finale or major battle, purely because of Tyrion Lannister's jaw-dropping monologue. Peter Dinklage's performance sells the scene, giving a shocking speech and then staring down Tywin Lannister, who's more furious than he's been seen as in the show so far. Many Game of Thrones scenes can be described as epic, but few are as epic purely because of the power and intensity of performance. The first significant on-screen battle in Game of Thrones is perfect for similar reasons to the dragon birth scene. The episode Blackwater contains one of the most epic fantasy battles in movies and shows, and the pivotal moment is the Wildfire Explosion that detonates a massive portion of Stannis Baratheon's fleet. The green fire makes for an evocative visual, and it's especially gratifying knowing Tyrion has been successful in his plan.
But what right?
The Kingslayer!
Jaime. My name's Jaime.
Like Theon's Season 2 scene, the bathtub scene is absolutely pivotal for Jaime Lannister, another character with a complicated redemption arc. He and Brienne sit at opposite ends, with Jaime revealing a crucial detail of his past, that he'd only stabbed the Mad King in the back after being told to kill his own father, while Jaime often covers his sensitivity with a smarmy, despicable attitude. The way he explains the moment that defined him as Kingslayer makes it hard to argue with his reasoning. Not to mention, Nikolai Coster-Waldau's performance in the scene is unbelievable. One of the best Game of Thrones changes from George R.R. Martin's books is the Arya plotline in Season 2, where she ends up in Harrenhal face-to-face with Tywin Lannister. In Season 2, Episode 7, they have a prolonged discussion regarding history where Arya overextends, revealing herself to be highborn. The underlying tension Arya feels for Tywin, clashing with Tywin's genuine fondness for Arya, makes for such a fascinating dynamic, and the scene impressively includes world building, character building, and, of course, outstanding acting. We have come to the end of the video we have prepared for you. If you like the video, do not forget to like the video and subscribe to our channel. See you in the next video.